years after his first run for the presidency,
we are very much alive.
It was the sweet Super Tuesday that Joe Biden had always dreamed of, setting a clear path to the nomination, finally at age 77.
It was like, okay, let's buckle up. We're going to go.
If he becomes president, he's likely to inherit a country facing the worst infectious disease crisis we've seen since 1919, the worst economic crisis we've seen since the Great Depression, the worst racism crisis we've seen since 1968. It's a triple threat of crises all at once, all combined.
As today, I announce my candidacy for President of the United States of America.
当时45岁的拜登被视为最有力的参选人，却被翻出在雪城大学法学院求学时涉嫌论文抄袭遭到围攻。然而，最终是剽窃演讲稿风波，使他黯然退选。
I've concluded that I will stop being a candidate for President of the United States.
转眼过了20年。
Are you running for president?
I am running for president. I'm going to be Joe Biden. I'm going to try to be the best Biden I can be.
可惜那年他遇上了奥巴马。
You got the first sort of mainstream African American who was articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
After Biden's short-lived presidential campaign collapsed, long-windedness took a back seat as Obama considered him as a running mate.
Obama was coming with relatively little Washington experience. Here was Joe Biden with 36 years in the United States Senate.
When he asked me if I'd do it, I said no, I didn't want to be vice president. Because my view was I was a fairly powerful United States senator. I thought I could help him more as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee.
And he called me. I said, oh my gosh, that's so great. And so he said, well, I don't know, Joe, I don't know. And I said, I'll call the kids and we'll talk about it.
So at home, I got the family together. And so my mom looked at me and she said, Joey, now let me get this straight. The first black man in history has a chance to be elected president. Says he wants you to run with him. And you told him no, honey?
Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, Barack Obama, the next President of the United States of America.
From that moment on, Biden was all in, as long as he could have weekly meetings with the president and serve as his chief advisor on all matters.
Biden said, I don't want a portfolio. All I want to know is that when you make the big decisions, that I'm going to be in the room. And Obama joked, I want your advice, Joe. I just want it in 10-minute increments, not 60-minute increments.
如事先料想的一样，他们赢了。美国出了第一位非裔总统。
I want to thank my partner in this journey, a man who campaigned from his heart, the Vice President-elect of the United States, Joe Biden. 当然，在长达40多年的从政生涯中，拜登也做过一些让他后悔的决定。
Back in 2001, after 9/11, Biden had backed Karzai in building a new government and supported George W. Bush's invasion into Afghanistan. And a year later, Biden also supported the Bush administration when it turned toward a new target, Iraq, looking to stomp out terrorism there.
These weapons must be dislodged from Saddam Hussein, or Saddam Hussein must be dislodged from power.
Why did Joe Biden vote for the resolution?
Yeah, so voting for the resolution is one thing, voting for war is another. He didn't vote for war, he voted for tough diplomacy. And he thought the best way to deal with it was to get weapons inspectors back into Iraq. The inspectors went back in, they were doing their job, and Bush went to war anyway.
There were no weapons of mass destruction.
Good to see you. How are you doing?
Joe Biden and Dick Lugar and I were the first senators into Baghdad. And after a couple of years, it became clear to him that this was going nowhere.
The Iraq vote was a mistake.
It's a vote that has dogged him for years from both sides.
I did everything I could to prevent that war. Joe saw it differently.
在漫长的伊拉克战事中，拜登自己的儿子波也是亲上前线的美军之一。他平安自战场归来，却在另一场战役中丧命。他是拜登的骄傲。
Please join me in welcoming my friend, my father, my hero,
the next Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Bo served in Iraq with the National Guard.
The Attorney General of the state of Delaware, Bo Biden.
And was the Attorney General of Delaware, contemplating a run for governor.
Honesty.
He was bound for bigger things, and not just because of his last name.
And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being there for me.
He was the heir apparent, but there was no question that he could earn it himself. Here was this incredible natural, right, who you just had to get out of the way and let him shine.
I knew he would follow in his father's footsteps. I mean, he loved politics, even as a little boy.
Did you think he was going to run for president someday? Was that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
By 2013, Bo Biden was married with 2 young children.
And then he had this incident while he was traveling with his family and ends up at the doctor's office. And it was after that initial visit with the doctor that we heard from the vice president that he needed to see a specialist at MD Anderson in Houston.
MD Anderson, a top cancer hospital. Do you remember when Biden called you?
Yes, I do. You could tell from his voice that they had had a very challenging conversation with the doctor.
The diagnosis was deadly, glioblastoma, an aggressive brain cancer. The chances for long-term survival near 0.
It was hard. I mean, it was hard. We just kept hope that he was going to make it. You know, they say 1% of people survive. And we kept thinking, why can't he be the 1%? After the workday, I would head to Walter Reed Hospital. Joe would head to Walter Reed. I mean, he would be there till 2 or 3 in the morning. And then he would come home, you know, grab a couple hours of sleep or fall asleep, you know, at Bo's bedside and then shower and start the next day.
I said to him, I find it remarkable how you're able to deal with this. He said, you know, the reality is I've dealt with this before.
那是在1972年圣诞节前的1个礼拜，他的妻子上街采买过节用的圣诞树，一辆牵引车撞到了他们。妻子和小女儿不治，医生还不确定2个儿子能否活下来。此时，距离他选上美国史上排名第2年轻的新科参议员，晋升人生胜利组，仅短短1个半月。
For 6 weeks, we were on top of the world. I mean, he was the dragon slayer. We were the bright young hope of the Democratic Party, and it was completely joyful.
从狂喜到狂悲，本以为再没有什么比这更残酷了，谁知到老又再经历一次丧子之痛。
I remember looking back and sort of stealing a glance at one point, and he was praying hard.
Biden also got support from his boss.
The only person I told about how bad off Bo was, and he kept the confidence, was Barack.
For years, the president and vice president had a weekly lunch appointment. And when Bo got sick, the struggle became their shared conversation. Did they become closer?
They absolutely became closer. As people do, right, when they experience great life events together.
So close that when the vice president mentioned he might sell his home to help his son, the president made a stunning offer.
I said, if Bo resigns, there's nothing to fall back on, his salary. And I said, but I worked it out. I said, Jill and I will sell the house. We'll be in good shape. And he got up, he said, don't sell that house. Promise me you won't sell the house. He's going to be mad at me saying this. He said, I'll give you the money.
And while the vice president tried to help his son, the son tried to help his father.
I absolutely believe, and I'll believe it to the day I die, that the thing that Bo was most afraid of was not dying. What he was most afraid of is the impact it would have on his dad. That it would really take his dad out.
Did he tell you that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time.
Bo just made me promise. And this was just before he died. He said, Dad, you got to promise me you're going to be okay. I said, Bo, I'll be. He said, Dad, look at me. Look me in the eye, Dad. Give me your word as a Biden dad, you're going to... You're going to be okay.
Are you okay?
I am, because it is still emotional, but I knew what he meant. He was worried I'd walk away from everything I worked in my whole life, the things I cared about. He knew I'd take care of the family. He never wondered about that. But he didn't want me walking away.
Biden is a Trojan horse for socialism.
At his convention, Biden saw himself as the man to lead the way out of the pandemic by believing in science and understanding the pain it has caused.
I know how mean, cruel, and unfair life can be sometimes.
你经常能在公开场合看到拜登安慰悲伤家属的身影。
Someone who has been through it and says, "I know how you feel." You kind of look and you say, "I guess I can make it." They made it.
He did it privately too.
In the middle of his campaign for the presidency, my dad had passed away. Joe was the first one to call. He's running for office. You know, you can leave a voicemail.
Right.
Yeah. He's a good man.
People talk about your empathy and your pastoral nature when people are suffering. Did that begin after the accident?
I think it really began in an earnest way with my stutter, because it is the most humiliating thing in the world. For someone, how do you walk up to the girl to go to the 8th grade dance? Say, would you go the and there are always a bunch of chumps out there who would make fun. That's how I learned to kind of fight.
美国2020总统大选就由从不轻言放弃的拜登对上最出乎意料的川普。
Are Joe Biden and Donald Trump polar opposites?
100%. Joe Biden, in character and in policies, is the polar opposite of Donald Trump.
Do you see yourself as the polar opposite of Donald Trump?
I hope so.